a lesser degree of sexiness. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Sonic Movie Show, the only show that reviews video game movies. My name is Ethan, and with me here, simmering, sulking, and surlily looking into his past, because he's full of vengeance and hatred and chaos energy. And I forgot he's also, in this context, in this canon, from a meteorite from somewhere in space. Devin, how's it going?
You think Longclaw would be proud of me?
Honest to God, when he said that in this movie, on our third rewatch of Sonic Movie 3, when Sonic said, "Do you think Longclaw would be proud of me?" to Tom Wachowski, when they had their way too early in this franchise, look back on the first movie, we see the cave again. That's like season 11 of your sitcom. Is when you do that, when you pull that shit, you know what I mean? The third movie is too early to do this. But when he said that, I'm like, dog, she has no idea any of the things that you would have done in these past two movies. She doesn't know what a Shadow the Hedgehog is. She's probably thinking you were going to be living literally alone in the dirt for the rest of your life. I'm sure she's fine. She also didn't tell you about the map until apparently the second movie. So, you know.
I will say that whole scene in the cave, if anything, I'm kind of surprised it took that long. I'm going to do the opposite of what you just said. I'm going to say I feel like this is something Sonic would show Tom Wachowski like 3 weeks into living at their house. Like, do you want to see my house?
But they moved all of
crib?
his stuff out of the cave to surprise him at the end of that first movie. So he's definitely been there to have taken his shit out to then put it in the end.
Right.
So he's been there before. But maybe they haven't been there since, and that's probably what it is.
Okay.
But I don't know. I just feel like it's too early to have this like nostalgic wipe away the dust. Oh, dun 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 dun. Look, we brought back fucking Steve Rogers again. Get him the fuck out of here. He's dead. Who gives a shit?
Is that what the only thing I saw with the trailer? I saw the first 5 seconds and scrolled away, and then I saw someone being like, "Is this who I think it is?" And it's just someone's boots. Is that supposed to be Steve?
No, the entire trailer for the fucking Doomsday Avengers movie, because it leaked, and I was searching for it on YouTube because I'm like, all right, I'm curious. I want to know what it looks like. Out of all of these movies, I will watch this one versus Thor 27. You know what I mean? Yes, if I have to pick, I'm also 100% going to watch Spider-Man just because it's fucking Spider-Man. I don't give a shit.
True.
That's an
I'll
instant.
be there. I'll be there.
But
for
anyway,
Spider-Man.
Disney was taking down all the trailers, and this is a shitty world we live in where I'm like, this is a use. They couldn't take down the AI recreations of the trailers because it's not their footage. And so I watched a AI recreation of the trailer, and I could tell it was AI because he's pulling up his motorcycle, he gets off in their actual trailer, and he puts his helmet on, his motorcycle helmet on one of the handlebars. But in the AI recreation, it's already there, and he takes it off and then puts it on the seat. It just doesn't make sense. I'm like, I could tell this is AI. But yes, it's just him pulling up to his, white picket fence house. But you don't see him until the end. They want to reveal the face of Chris Evans. He opens the door, goes in, puts the suit away in a box. It's the star, a star on the blue, thing, and then picks up a baby, a blonde baby boy. I assume it's a baby boy, whatever. Short hair, it could be a girl. And then you see Chris Evans' smiling face. It's this baby. And then the AI recreation, Dr. Doom is there. And I'm like, this is definitely fake. There's no way this is real. But that's what the trailer is. It says, I forget if it says Captain America.
Time to get doomed.
Or if it's, no, but it says Captain America will return in Doomsday. And then that was it. And I guess they're doing one for Thor and his little twerp daughter he has now. That's because it's the Avatar.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to see Avatar. You're going to see one of 4 trailers for that movie. Depending on what week you go to see that movie, they're going to have a different version of.
I was going to say that's probably where I will see it. So that's why I scrubbed away anyways, because when I'm like, I don't care, but I'm like, I'm going to probably see it whether I want to or not anyways at the theater.
Who gives a fuck? This isn't exciting at all. They want it to be such a pop reveal. It's like, if this was 2019, we would have been like, hell yeah, but now they haven't earned us to care.
Anything.
We're talking about Sonic here, but go on.
Well, I was going to say, don't worry though. my Dune 3 is supposedly scheduled for the same weekend as Avengers,
Same day.
and they're not moving it. They said,
I
and I'm
know.
like,
I
don't
know.
do it, Dune. It's time to pick up what you've been meant to do. Pick up the sword and cut clean. Kill Marvel. Do us all a favor. Let's go,
Yeah.
baby.
It will still do
But
really,
we'll
really
see.
well, but like there isn't like Endgame and Infinity War. Everyone was like, even if you were like not really caring, you were like, hell yeah, awesome. You know what I mean?
It's hard to get the phenomenon
The Star Trek
crowd.
motion picture. I forget which Star Trek movie it was, where like the credits had the signatures of the actors. Like, you know, they did that whole thing and like they put him to bed, they put him to rest, killed him off screen, gave him a whole life. Like they did all that stuff. They got to bring him back, and the Russo brothers are like, this was always part of the plan. Like, motherfuckers, were you planning on having what's his name get convicted of rape and sexual assault and domestic violence, and then have to just like, it's not Kang anymore, we're gonna ham fist in Robert Downey Jr. again as Doctor Doom? What they He is one of the only Marvel villains where they could have done that whole full build up, but they don't. It's just last second. I watched the Fantastic Four. I stole it. AI put in some audio. I don't know. I watched it. Whatever. And it just appears. He just appears at the end. I'm like, there's no setup for this asshole. He just appears at the end of that movie as their teaser.
That movie could have been so much better, and I could be here all day talking about. But it's
I was.
we always should.
I was
we should.
sold.
We're
I was sold a
we went
lie
from
about
Marvel
that Fantastic
lovers.
Four movie. I was sold a
we
different.
we were
movie.
Marvel lovers. If you've watched the show since honestly day
Yeah,
one,
we
went
were
from
in
Marvel
middle
love.
school when the Iron Man movie came out. Yeah, like it was gonna be obvious that we would have liked the comic book movie and been invested and be like, they're gonna make more. You know what I mean?
It's just funny. We've maybe we've become the mob, Ethan, and now
Yes,
we hate it. We hate the thing that we created.
100%.
But you know what we also created, Ethan, is
Sonic
our
movie
love
show.
for Sonic and the Sonic movie.
Yes. The ironic podcast about the first Sonic movie we made before that initial trailer is now back to review the third movie a third time. Yes, you're 10 minutes into this episode, more or less. So let's talk about Sonic Movie 3. This came out last year.
Can't believe
By
it.
the time you're watching this is probably the 28th or later of December. As you can see, it's a white Christmas day after for me. It was not snowing where I lived on Christmas Day. But on Christmas Day in 2024, that's right, you know, next year we'll have already passed a quarter century into the 2000s. I remember 9/11 like it was yesterday. You know what I mean? And
And the
like
kids
here...
and the kids who watch this movie and sometimes get mad that we didn't like it as much, they don't remember 9/11 probably.
I actually don't remember 9/11. We were in first grade, and I don't have a
do.
9/11 memory. I'm sure
I remember
they
it more
sent us
from the
home,
day
but-
after, like either the day after or the afternoon, but whatever, it doesn't matter. We talk about 9/11 too much on this channel. It's because we were scarred, okay?
Exactly. And yeah, so 2026 feels like a fake number. So does 2025. 2024 is when this movie came out. We watched it, and we gave it ultimately a C rating, which is fine. You know what I mean? We gave the original an A.
Video game movie scale.
We gave it a B. We gave Sonic Movie 3 a B. That's right. We gave it a B.
Yeah.
More good than bad. We gave the original an A and Sonic 2 an S because we feel like, for the sake of what this movie is, this is as good as they could have done for this movie. Beyond like extra fan servicey, like it's exactly what it looks like in the game. Like they could have done that stuff, but whatever. We knew that wasn't going to be possible. But for the third movie, we were expecting more. We were disappointed. It was a fun movie, but there was a lot of complaints that we had. A year later, we've come back around to watch this movie. I haven't seen it since. I assume you haven't seen it since. And so we're here to give maybe an updated take on the film, or maybe come to conclusions that we already came to and cement them further. But I'm very curious, because I watched this movie this morning before recording this. I want to know what you think a year later about Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Do you, first question right off the bat, do you agree with your statements the first and second time we reviewed this movie, day of and week later of, or whatever?
I'll say this. I came away after watching this being like, I enjoyed it more, I guess, going in or after watching this third time than I thought I would. And maybe I like it just a little bit more than I did previously. That's the other part of that was like, yeah, we kind of, I think we critiqued it really hard in our first two reviews. I think our first review, we critiqued it really hard, raw reaction. Then we watched it again. We're like, yeah, no, a lot of these things we still uh, either didn't like or wanted more of, being, I know, very broad here. But a year later, and maybe me watching, or us watching Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was the last movie, a video game movie, maybe
Yeah.
helped this a little bit, I will say. Going from that to this, I'm being like, maybe I was too harsh on you, or whatever
Well, to be
the
fair, there's a
quote
gulf
is,
of a
but
difference between an E and a B, which is where these two movies lie. To be
yeah.
fair, but
But I'm like, I actually enjoyed this, even though I knew it was coming. I remember one of my critiques was like about the comedy, and we can get into that. But like, I found actually some of the jokes, weirdly more, not more funny, but just like I laughed a little bit more. I felt like maybe I'm just in a cheery mood or something. I don't know what it is, but I'll say I wasn't watching this being like, great, we got to do this for like 40 more years or however long we're living or doing this thing. You know what I mean? Like, um, I don't know. I like I said, I feel more positive about it. A lot of my critiques I still think stand, but maybe I'm more forgiving now. A year later, I've accepted it. Maybe I was in the denial phase, Ethan, and now I'm in the acceptance uh,
sure,
phase, and I'm just
sure.
like, this is Sonic 3. This is what it is.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with it.
For me, I'm similar with you, or it's like, and again, the acceptance is like, well, this is what it is, and so like, it is just what it is. I can choose to enjoy the parts that I enjoy of it more than I allowed myself maybe last time around. Who knows? I still stick by all of the complaints I had, and I still stick by our grading. Um, but one thing for me that stuck out a bit more was like, the set design and like the CG production of it all is pretty well done. Like I think all that stuff is good. For me, my complaints were about the choices they made in the story and where they decided to go and how they decided to spend Jim Carrey's paycheck. You know what I mean? Or that's where I was like, man, I really like this character, but I didn't need two of them and not like this, and I didn't feel earned, and I don't need to see Scorpion fight at the end or whatever. You know what I mean? I didn't need to see when there's a lot that this movie could have done. That's, to me, that was the big thing after the first review. Was like, I was hoping for a lot more in the Shadow the Hedgehog direction than what we got ultimately, and I feel let down by the premise of a movie based on Sonic Adventure 2, right? Even though it's not literally, but they took the things that they could take from Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow's introduction, right, to put it in the movie with Shadow in it. Um, and I felt let down based on that because I was kind of maybe hoping for more of the game. And that's why watching this again and remembering, oh yeah, the post credit teased Amy and a Metal Sonic and what clearly to me feels like more of a Terminator style potential sequel. Like, cool. Yes, Sonic CD is where those two characters come from, which had time travel mechanic in its levels, but there's not a story that for them to pull from really. So they're gonna have the freedom to make an original story, like kind of like Sonic 2, the movie, to do whatever they want to do again without having to be like, okay, there are this moment we need to have from the game and this moment. Like there isn't that baggage anymore. Potentially for this fourth, who knows? They're like, we really want Sonic Heroes, and that's what we're doing. I don't know, but because
Yeah.
Metal Sonic was in Sonic Heroes, I guess. But like looking at that teaser for Sonic 4, the post credits for this movie, I'm like, cool. They are setting up a movie that might not disappoint as much as this movie did, because this movie, was teased with Shadow being revealed at the end of Sonic 2 and its post credits, and like you're off to the races thinking like, oh my god, I can't Sonic Adventure 2 movie would be so dope, and that's what they're kind of doing, and blah blah blah. And, oh man. But I agree with you. Ultimately, it is what it is, and I could enjoy the things that were fun about it more. And I will say, I didn't I lightened up a bit on the Gerald Robotnik stuff this time around.
You and Gerald are gonna get dinner maybe later and like, talk about it more and get
uh,
it build up
no,
that relationship.
Tails was way too happy to see him violently explode, like a bug to a bug zapper, which is what the joke is. In that I noticed this time, I'm like, man, he's not even having any like, kind of like this kid's never seen death before. You know what I mean? He saw
I guess
someone
if that's how
disappear.
if that's how people died, I feel like I guess that is less dramatic and it is very like
They could have made
you
a
know what I
joke
mean?
and have him explode into rings. You know what I mean? They could have done that. I wouldn't have wanted that. That would have felt too. Um, Putting all that aside, we watched this movie again for the third time, and there's a lot about this movie we can take in and talk about in certain aspects here or there that maybe change a little bit in the context of our opinions from a year ago, whatever. But I do want to bring up one thing. That I thought a lot about lately about this movie, leading into this review. I'm like, man, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe the Maria backstory was a huge thing and we just didn't get it, and maybe we're wrong about it. And maybe there's just so much more deeper in there. No, motherfuckers, watch it the movie again. She is just a kid that Shadow has fun with several times, and then she gets smoked, and that's it. It was the same thing in the video games, just in space that time.
If anything, it's longer in here in this movie than in the video game, if I'm not
for sure.
mistaken.
100%. Yes.
To actually defend this movie more, but yeah, Ethan's making fun of this one comment we got, which was really it did make our day because it was pretty good. I love that
It was also
comment.
like recently. I'm like, damn, you watched this episode from a year ago. Thank you. But no,
Watch
no,
this
I,
one,
I
too.
did I did think about that going in. Like, oh yeah, yes, the Maria stuff in here. It would be different if we had known more about her life, her parents, right? Where all that stuff. Like, but there really isn't any of that stuff because it is about Shadow, and it's just about getting a nugget of where his emotions could be and why he's mad and why he would allow the idea of being strung along for this master plan of just vaporizing the planet and him with it, like,
So edgy, dude. I mean, I guess they delivered on that part. I guess that like
yes,
that
they
very
did.
nihilistic, like the world sucks and it should burn with me included. It's just like sure, dude.
But even then, that's not
Whatever.
his plan. He's willing to go with it because what would Maria? Because and hey, to be fair, he asked Gerald Robotnik, "Is this what Maria would have wanted?" And it's not what Maria would have wanted. The question is, what do they deserve? And he still goes with it. One tiny little critique. I'm sure we said something to this effect first or second time we talked about this movie for review. Um, hey, he loses the fight against Sonic, and it's the classic like, do it, finish it, get your revenge, because that's where he's ideologically, emotionally set. Sonic's not in that spot, you know what I mean? And he teaches, but Shadow's way too quick to come around because they need it for the sake of the story. Whatever, you throw it away, like who cares? But like, I want him to hold on. I wanted him to hold on to that a bit more, and just not fully accept it, but still know that like, but I'm not gonna let the planet be vaporized. That's stupid. He's gone too far. I've gone too far, but I'm not Sonic. I'm not accepting it like Sonic does. I'm still mad. I still can't trust humanity. And maybe, man, hey, maybe there's because he doesn't go back home, right? You know what I mean? He flies away with the thing, for sure. But like maybe because they tease his own movie at the end too, which I want. I want a Shadow movie, a movie called Shadow the Hedgehog, and I want Sonic.
You're
the
gonna get
Hedgehog
8
4.
episodes on Paramount Plus, and you're gonna
No,
like it.
I've never
You're-
I never opened the steelbook of the Knuckles show that I have sitting on my bookcase in another room. I've never opened that, and I never will because I don't ever want to watch that again. That is such a letdown. What the fuck? Who greenlit that story? And I was like, yeah, we can string along some crap. You know what I mean? That's what that show was
I
crap.
did notice in this movie that I didn't notice before is that Knuckles does have like flaming knuckles at parts because I think from the TV show, but they never acknowledge it because
Right.
it wasn't that big of a deal for
But
the
it
sake of the
was.
story.
But it was for the sake of that show. But it wasn't. dude, Doc Brown from Back to the Future was his like grandpa, uncle, leader, spirit person. Man, that show sucks. I forgot if we grade that show.
No, but I did remember. I think like 6 months ago, you're like, we should rewatch and review, and I was like, I don't really want to.
I'm
like,
with
we'll
you.
talk about it.
I mean,
I'm like,
at some point for the channel, we should rewatch it for sure.
Maybe 5-year anniversary, so hopefully we forget again.
Yes. That was 2023, right? Or was that 20? Was that
3? That was 23 because the movie it came out before Shadow.
Yeah, but
we thought we were gonna get some Shadow something at the end of the show or something. We didn't get. We
April
got
26,
zip.
2024. This was last year that the Knuckles show came out.
Oh, so another. Okay, 5-year anniversary. All right, we got time. 2029.
Okay, let's wait till 2030 to do it.
Just up.
By then, all this Sonic movie stuff will probably have been dead. You know what I mean? Because unfortunately, only the good things die. The Marvel gets to last forever. Because obviously, Sonic is super important.
I'm telling you, Dune 3 is gonna kill it. Don't you worry. Trust in Dune 3 to kill it.
I wish Sonic 4 was ready for the same day. You know what I mean? And really,
that'd be funny.
And really duke it out. No, Sonic would move 100%. Anything from the third watch along, any specific scene or moment or anything in particular for you?
No, I wanted to echo the Maria stuff where I'm like, I'm not opposed to it, and I get like from the game or whatever. But like I said, I think there's more Maria in this movie than there is in the game. I believe, at least from what I remember. Or at least
there's not much of her in Sonic Adventure 2, and there's a lot of her in Shadow the Hedgehog for sure. I don't remember if she.
I'm talking about more, I guess, in terms of actual like character.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like screen time alone, there's not much in the source material to even pull from. Yeah.
Either. If anything, I think they gave her a little bit more to work with in this, but it's still not enough for us to care. But I think I go back and forth because I wasn't as hard on the Gerald, whatever his name is,
Geraldo Robotnik.
The two Robotniks.
Commentator.
I didn't mind it because I do like Jim Carrey. I didn't mind it, but maybe this wasn't the movie to do it. I think they needed to pick one. I was actually thinking about this. Maybe it's because of the tones are similar. But is this just Spider-Man 3? Is this just like we tried to squeeze in too much, and the director maybe wanted to tell one story, and maybe the producers
a
were like
story, and the producers like Venom's hot, and right now you need to put Venom, and he's like,
I don't know which one it is.
Venom is not the Spider-Man I grew up with. Yeah.
So maybe I don't know if it was like we really want to tell Shadow, but then
maybe Sonic Adventure 2 is not the Sonic that what's his name grew up with. Maybe we needed to have step forward and be like, here, this is our generation Sonic. You know what I mean? And then Zoomers can come and be like, then here's the Sonic Forces movie that we needed to have. We needed to play that.
I don't know. I'm not
song.
saying it. That's what happened because we weren't we're not part of the production team or anything like that. But who knows? You never know what happens in the room. It easily could have been all Jeff Fowler's idea. I could see it being Paramount. It's like, no, I know you killed Jim Carrey off in the second one, but we really need him to come back because we need that money.
And they did the same thing here, where like they've written him away so that I think I said this in the review. I hope he's not in the next one. Have it be Metal Sonic and some Metal Sonic computer brain, heart thing that you can destroy at the end.
Skynet,
some sort of Skynet. Like I'm thinking of like the Master Control program from Tron, where there's like one centralized computer thing that if they kill that, you know what I mean? Like have that be the villain, and then you can bring Jim Carrey back for Sonic 5 or whatever. And because if you keep doing them over and over again, it's not gonna hit the same.
Get stale.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't.
He's had at one hand. You know what I mean? He had an arc in this movie.
I was gonna say if they do bring him back, it can't be the Eggman that died at the end of this movie. It can't be.
He's gonna want something else. You know what I mean?
Well, I just feel like that character did accept that. I'm gonna save it here, and to me, he died. I think if they bring him back, it's gotta be some alternate universe. other Eggman,
I mean, they could
which I
always
don't.
have him be the man in the chair and like help, like they're on the same side for real, because they've done that in a couple of the games, right? They did it at
Um,
Sonic 06. The ends with them doing that, right? They could do
yeah.
that
Anyways, but like
if they want to
whatever.
have this, like Eggman at the end of the arc.
Yeah, to me,
No
like
pun
that
intended.
Eggman character is done. Like they should just, if they're gonna do a new Eggman, it's got to be a new universe Eggman or something like that. But at the same point, I'm kind of with you. As much as I will miss Jim Carrey, but you know who needs to carry the comedy. And this is my one point: is I said some of the comedy I feel like hit better for me this time, but maybe it's because I don't know, it just felt hit me in the right moment or whatever. But I was like, I realized who's always kind of held. I know like everyone thinks Jim Carrey in all these movies, rightfully so. But who's been the second in command with the comedy in all these movies? And who got I think we still said one of our issues was they kind of took a back seat and we're worried about their future in this franchise. James Marston, Tom
There was like four
Wachowski.
people. I was like, I don't know who he's talking about here. Okay, James Marston. Yeah, okay.
No, I think Tom Wachowski is the second. He has the silver medal in all these movies in terms of the comedic moments. I think he has good delivery. His jokes, the ones I actually did do more of an audible laugh watching this again. Where
I
I was
liked
like,
the
I love
puppet Tom.
the puppet Tom was good and it was delivered well, but it's because I don't know how they paced it or whatever, but he just hit. I feel like every joke in this movie for the most
And
part.
maybe they had way more of the puppet jokes and they cut them all besides the couple and that was good enough. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
I would say so, yeah.
but I'm worried that in this potential sequel that we're gonna get if we get away from it, which in one hand I'm like, cool, we'll get something different from the Earth and we can do more with that.
Yeah.
But how I don't want them to continue to take a backseat too much to where they're just not in the movie at all, because that's
Where
what it felt like
it's
until they did
bookmarking
get.
the movie, opening family, ending family, and that's it, right?
Yeah, because I didn't. That's what it felt like in this movie. I mean, obviously they did get that London part, um,
Yep.
and they did have their kind of moment,
Yep.
and obviously he gets knocked out. Still say that he should have been like in the hospital, and Sonic should have like encountered him in
They
some way.
implied that he might die, but they didn't want to say it. And so when they reveal him in the tent at the end, it was like, well, of course, because they didn't have a sad moment for him after
Yeah,
that. So of course,
I think there needed to be that sad moment. I think it's one big thing. Anyways, I think if you get rid of Jim Carrey, you need to hand the mantle to Tom Wachowski. You need to give it to James Marston and let him cook. I think in this next movie, I think if you just do all the casting, if you just do all the Sonic and Friends comedy, that's not gonna, it ain't gonna work for the general audiences.
yeah.
If you still are pivoting to that, which was one of my issues with this movie, and I'll say I'm gonna dial it back a little bit. I'm gonna turn the dial back. I turn on the heat a little bit on this movie. I said this movie originally for me felt like they were afraid of making it too general audiences. I'm talking about like the general family, so that dad can laugh at a joke, and the kids are like, "What is he laughing about?" There was a little bit more than I remembered in this movie that Jim Carrey did. More specifically, he had some lines where I'm like, "Okay, only adults are gonna laugh at that." But I still feel that there was more of it in the first Sonic movie and in the second one, and the comedy was a little bit more uh, oriented towards kids, which is fine. It's Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right.
But I'm still worried about the potential of like, okay, if we just do Sonic and Friends, we're not gonna get the dad jokes, the more adult
Right.
jokes.
Right.
And that's what I'm afraid. We're gonna go from PG-13 to PG, which
And
is
that
I'm being
level of
selfish
humor,
here,
by
where
the
I'm
way,
saying my enjoyment is gonna go down, and I hate to say it,
yeah,
but it's
yeah.
like
I mean,
it's gonna go
'cause
down.
it feels clever, like that type of stuff. That some of the Jim Carrey stuff, even from this movie, it feels clever enough to, and then that's where the spark in the brain, you recognize it. Another character that we don't want to go away, that we want to be in all of these forever, is Agent Stone, but he is not. He is to
I
be
don't know
the
what they're gonna
straight
do
man
with
to the
him.
funny man. You know what I mean? He is not
Yeah,
going to be the one cracking a lot of jokes. He is the one going to be the joke of, or reacting to, or played very straight. You know what I mean? I had a terrible, terrible thought. An awful thought, Devin. Just I saw, as I
mm.
closed my eyes, a portal opened to a dark alternate reality, a dark alternate future in which we go and sit down and see Sonic 4 for the first time together. You know what I mean? And we're all so excited. And they do what you said, Devin. They do what you said. They go to the future, and it's not the future, it's an alternate universe, and there's a new Dr. Eggman, and he is maniacally controlling the world. And, and he's very funny. He's just so funny. And he's oh so fat and funny. Know who they got to play Eggman in this alternate universe in my brain?
Chris
Jack
Pratt.
Black.
Oh,
That is the awful future that we could potentially have.
it's not gonna be Jack. I
Guaranteed-
think it's gonna be Jim Carrey or nothing, dude.
Guarantee what they're gonna do? They're gonna have Jack Black play Big the Cat, I'm sure, or he's gonna be a character because he's just willing to be in all these video game movies. Or maybe Nintendo has a stipulation of like you're not allowed to be in any of these if you're gonna keep being Bowser. But yeah, I don't know. Like that's my fear is like as much as we actually do like Jack Black, it's overdone right now, and he was a dick to his longtime friend and business partner and bandmate over politics stuff and cowardly, and that's where maybe some hatred stems from. Is they're like, really, fuck that. Is a bit much right now. It's the Steve Minecraft, the Bowser, and all that. It's a bit much right now. Anaconda and the Zootopia. I mean, it's not
Anaconda don't.
the whatever it was exactly. But like that level of casting is possible if you're not gonna have Jim Carrey back. You know what I mean? That level of we need a big name to be our villain. Because Metal Sonic's not gonna speak, potentially. So our Sonic 4 is gonna need to have a guy
I can
voicing
one-up
or being
it.
the character. And we gonna have we gonna have be our egotistical villain? Like they could cast really, really poorly, man.
Jared Leto.
Fuck. I don't think that man likes video games or anything. Maybe my hope. Because like he was really into Tron, and that's why he worked on that movie for 8 years, even though he was wandering the desert for COVID.
If you have to pick one, you get your Jack Black or your Jared Leto. If you choose your poison. No, I agree with you. I think Robotnik's probably just gonna be in it, and I think if it is, I just hope that they move on from the Earth Robotnik. Like that character is dead. Be okay with killing characters and having them have their growth. You can make them just pure evil, have no big backstory. Just maybe in this alternate universe, Robotnik won. Ooh. He's dominating the Earth. He has Metal Sonic. The one Metal Sonics we saw were just the millions of Metal Sonics he has. I think that's all you gotta really like. If you're gonna do it, I think it's right there in front of you, and I think that's okay. Or like you said, there is no Robotnik, or maybe he's teased at the end of this, so that way you don't have to keep. Also, you don't have to tease every time. There's got to be the teaser at the end.
But it's fun, though. It is fun. It's fun. It's fun with stuff we care about. Some of the Marvel stuff, I don't care about, so I understand.
But one of our critiques of this third movie was like everything ended again, as opposed to let things be open. So I think that's one way you can do it again. But my thing is just to kind of go back to the main point that I was trying to make, which is like what made the first two Sonic movies special was it was a blend of you have your Sonic, you have your Easter eggs, but not to the point where it felt too like ham-fisted as opposed to this movie at moments.
Yeah.
If you take away any of those pieces, it makes it harder to put it back. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try it though. I'll say that. Doesn't mean I'd rather they take the risk, be like, nope, Jim Carrey isn't in this. I'm just saying if I was me, one of the things I would think about is how can we get more James Marsden? If we take away that, how do we get him into that? Maybe he gets
and hey,
caught
if your
in this
villain
too.
Isn't a human being in Sonic 4, if it is my Skynet, master control program from Tron, there's just a computer and all of the Metal Sonics are just a force villain type of thing, force like a military force type of thing. And, have a guy to cut to all the time. Then you can bring in our human characters we've already established, because we praise the fact that they for Sonic 2 are like, hey, we aren't gonna just because we're bringing Tails and Knuckles in doesn't mean we're getting rid of Maddie and her sister, and you're like, no, we are doubling down. This is our universe. These are our characters. We love our human actors, and they found a way to bring the sister and her now husband in this movie in a small way, a small way, but still a way. We're like, cool. We know that you know we still remember, and you don't want to let all that go, and that's good. And so yes, taking Jim Carrey away takes a lot of screen time away. Then you can bring it on in our supportive characters or supportive human cast.
Because I'm very worried, yeah, if you bring it all of a sudden you just make it basically an animated movie with just the Sonic and
Right.
friends.
And that would
That
be okay,
but
but
will it fit
it's
well
not
with this
what's not what these
expanded?
movies started to do. 100%.
Yes.
Which was our fear going into this movie, and you know what I mean. I will just say to bring back the one more time, how do you bring back Robotnik? And I'm surprised it took us this long to think about it. To keep the same Robotnik who has had this arc, to bring him back for real. Spend some time. This is why it's Sonic 5 or maybe 6 or however they split it up. I want them to keep doing the numbers because I love the commitment. I think it's cowardly to drop a number and do a subtitle. I really do think it is. If you're that proud of the fact that you made this to
The
begin
Two
with,
Towers, bro. Return of the King. You're shitting on Lord of the Rings right now, dude.
those weren't initially titled, and those are books. That's different. It's different than a movie, different from a video game. I want Assassin's Creed 28 to be called that. If they call Final Fantasy 17 not 17, then fuck them. Regardless, here's how you bring them back. Not in Sonic 4, but in the future, to still keep the same character with the same arc. The best Sonic game, according to the Sonic Movie Show, is Sonic Frontiers, and in that game, he has a daughter. It's a robot program daughter, but that's his daughter,
I was thinking she
right?
could be used or something similar to her.
In.
Yeah,
bring her in, and because they matured up Sonic and Eggman in that game a little bit. They literally had Sonic be a little bit deeper of a voice.
Sonic
you know
was
what I mean?
like, I feel like was like 35 in that game.
He was
Sonic is like, I'm ready to settle down.
Like,
I'm ready to settle down, dude.
He was far less carefree. He was I need to save my friends. I am responsible for people. You know what I mean? It was that.
I'm telling you, he's like a 35-year-old. He's like, I got kids now, bro. I gotta make sure I get to work on time. I can't be staying out late with the boys anymore.
And he's still gonna make his jokes, but like deep down, he knows that like mortgages do. You know what I mean? And they did that with Eggman as well. He was still like, granted, he wasn't the threat of this game, right? But still, it wasn't the maniacal like I want to rule the world, have theme park party for me. And like that character Sage, like bring her in Sonic 5. You know what I mean? Have it be.
Well, I'm saying you can do your Skynet with her easily.
Well, maybe teaser at the end. Oh, fuck it. There you go. Sonic 4 exists. All the Metal Sonics exist because Eggman was trying to work through some stuff, and he made all of these, but he really wanted a kid, and all of that is the toss away stuff. And at the end, you tease the final creation of that program. That project, and there you go.
And it's the red virtual girl from Resident Evil. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we get back
who
to
then
our
got brought back at the end of the last of the series to be like, yep, remember we're tying it back. Like, yeah, like you fucking cared.
Just to make our dream one of our like
that is
episode
less believable
28
than Stranger Things directors being like, and we told Netflix what the season 5 twist was before we filmed season 1. Fuck you! You didn't have any of that shit planned. God, those were ideas you had and you didn't do. That's
I'm
different.
Just saying, we pitched some cool, amazing stuff in like episode 28 of the show 5 years ago, where we said Tom Wachowski and Leon Kennedy would be on Monster Island or Monster Hunter Island. So that's how you get it. That's how you start the universe, Ethan. We got to start it somewhere. So Sonic 4 is going to be it. It's going to be the Resident Evil girl who's going to be our main villain. She's going to be our Thanos for all of our video game movies to tie back to.
Yes, and then Eggman cleanses her at the end, and then she turns into Sage. There we go.
Yep.
But no, if you wanted to bring that character back with actual growth for the sake of the series of movies, that is a way you could do it, because he'll still want something, and he'll still be an adversary to Sonic, and they can have another villain to be the thing. It's like rivals. Like he wants the Chaos Emeralds at the end for this, and Sonic needs them to stop the villain. They're both going to stop whatever. Like there's ways to do it. Sonic 3 though gives us Gerald Robotnik, gives us our regular Jim Carrey Ivo Robotnik. And it has that dynamic back and forth, and we have Shadow, as our like big draw, and he's got his Maria backstory. And they have all that stuff going on. One thing this rewatch did to me was, made me remember, because these were a critique that I had at the very least. I don't remember exactly where you laid on this, but I think you were similar. Is the like, well, we have a lot of these characters now in this film, which naturally means Tails and Knuckles are taking a little bit of a back burner. Knuckles feels a bit more one note. Tails at least pushes back on Sonic on some things, but still, he has a little bit more of a character in this movie. 'Cause I think of the one scene of him and Agent Stone talking in the cave or whatever, the entranceway of the factory or whatever secret base, whatever it was. But still, like, these characters put a bit on a back burner. So here's my question for you for this movie, because we did a lot of predictions on Sonic 4 in this movie so far, or in this review so far. This is a review of Sonic 3. Do you think that they treated those characters as much as they should or could? Maybe too much is too much. I don't know. And do you think that they should handle things differently in the future? Maybe that's a leading question.
Yeah,
but,
no, you're good. No, I mean, one of my critiques I had in rewatching it, I had this moment again where there's the one scene after Tom Wachowski's taken away in the ambulance. Sonic is all ready to go guns a-blazing on Shadow and Eggman and all that, to the point where he's like, "Oh, we're gonna do the thing we said we wouldn't do, which is grab the nuke." Basically, we're gonna go Super Saiyan on their ass. And they established this earlier. They mentioned it because that was the first thing Tom Wachowski's character said, and he's like, or James Marsden's character said, Tom Wachowski was like, "Hey, why don't we just use the Master Emerald and just finish this shit?" Which I was like, "Yeah."
Actually, it was Maddie who suggested it.
Whatever. Someone said it.
It was in that scene.
Someone said
in
it.
House. Yes.
And I still don't love that, like, oh, we just can't use it because it's too powerful. I'm like, but it didn't seem like anyone died last time you used it. It wasn't like, oh, we put a hole in the sky or something like that. Like, there was no, like, environmental change.
There wasn't a cost. When there should be a cost.
I don't really buy into the whole, like, we can't use it because the potential for it to, it was like, Sonic seemed pretty in control.
Which is why they chose,
I think it'd been kind of funny if they were like, "No, we lost it." Like, it's somewhere in the attic, dude. I cannot find it right now. Like,
I mean, hey, that's how you really make a dark turn on the Knuckles show, because it's all about Adam Pally's character there and his relationship with Knuckles and who he trusts with the Master Emerald, according to this movie. Have him fucking lose it. So they do
make
like,
that a whole
right,
B plot. There's a B plot happening of him and Knuckles trying to find it again.
My only argument is like, hey, if you're gonna introduce Super Saiyan, all right, in this movie universe, have the guts to always have that as the thing. That is now the standard, and that you just fucking scale up the power levels on the villains and stuff like crazy. I will never forget. Playing Dragon Ball FighterZ, the Dragon Ball Z fighting game that came out like 5 or 6 years ago. Awesome 2D fighting game. There is a mod now, fully playable Yu-Gi-Moto from Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's awesome. And how there is no regular
fucking special or whatever. It's just
my God,
like
the
way too
Exodia
long.
thing is fucking awesome, and just they know they know how to. Oh, it's awesome! I want to play the PC version just so I can play that. No, that Dragon Ball FighterZ doesn't have regular Goku or regular Vegeta. Base Super Saiyan Goku and base Super Saiyan Vegeta are as low power levels as you get. DLC is how you can play as regular Goku. You know what I mean? Because that's just how that show went on. You know what I mean? They just need a blah, 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 blah. I remember watching the tournament, and it's just regular Goku, like, kicking Piccolo. You know what I mean? It's like, and that was seen as, oh my God, he's fast. You know, it's different. It's different. Do that in the Sonic movie. Fuck it. Have the balls to commit. And just make sure people know who gives a fuck. It's fun to watch them fight. You know what I mean? Dragon Ball, by the way, had no problem always making sure the characters fight somewhere empty. Like, they're always fighting in the middle of nowhere because they know they'll blow everything up. They make a point about that. The fucking superhero movies have to always write out reasons why, yes, Gotham City's empty. Fucking Dragon Ball had no problem with that. You know what I mean? They also numbered their cities, so who cares?
Well, my main point with all this is that so this is supposed to be like a big sticking point for like Knuckles is like, no, we don't touch that shit, no matter the circumstances. And I know we talked about this in our initial review, but like watching it again, it just solidified for me where I'm like, I don't know if maybe it was something they wrote out and they just realized they couldn't really roll with it. And this even goes back to the whole Shadow thing with you said. Shadow immediately after that fight, he's like, "Oh yeah, you know what, Sonic, you're right. You're actually, you know everything. You're right. You grew, so that means I have to grow right now as well." And I think this is another moment where this happens, and I think this is something where we deserved more of this being like played out. Is Knuckles and Tails should have been like, no, fuck you, Sonic, and Sonic should have fought them in some capacity, or they had some sort of altercation and that has some consequence.
They
Because
should have been
basically,
let down more. They should have been
yeah,
let down more. Yeah.
because after the scene where or when Tom is being taken to the hospital, yeah, Sonic, there's like Shadow and Sonic are about to duke it out. And I remember in the theater being like, okay, cool, we're gonna have like a moment where Sonic's gonna have to go in alone and maybe he loses or he has to get bailed out by Tails and Knuckles, and he learns that way that like, oh, I can't go into this alone, even with the Master Emerald. But we don't get that. Instead, we get Knuckles being like, all right, you know what, you're right though. Like, I'm gonna hate it, but like, fine.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then they play it into a joke of like, oh, you gotta go
Yeah.
past
Yeah.
this. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, but like that just felt like you weren't that mad though. Like
It
you guys,
felt-
it
felt
felt
like
way
Knuckles
more
didn't
real.
really take it seriously to begin with. Like ultimately, yes, I know what the sake of the show was and blah blah blah, and you built up those characters' relationship and Adam Pally's, I forget what Wade Whipple, Wade's like character and inner strength, but when they play it as a joke, anyone who didn't watch the show, which is I would say a large majority of the people who watch Sonic 3,
General
because
audiences,
yeah,
yes.
I mean, because it's a different thing, you know what I mean? It's literally a side thing. Like it's literally presented as an extra. If you want, you want, you know what I mean? When they show it, it's like, oh well, it wasn't that big of a. This thing must not be that big of a deal anyway, because he doesn't care. Clearly, Knuckles doesn't care.
I think you could even still do the joke, but I think there still needs to be an altercation that either them fighting and is resolved, and Knuckles is like, fine, I'll take you there. And then it cuts directly be like, oh, it's fucking Wade has it. Like, it'd be like, it could be a joke there that way, where, break the ice a little bit if it felt too intense. But it went from, we're raising the temperature to just cooling it down, and it just doesn't hit. It just doesn't work. It doesn't feel satisfying in any way. And then we just move on from it, basically. And like, I know at the end, Knuckles kind of like says something, and then it's just like, cool. But it's like, no, that's not like...
They never revisit the concept of should we use this again after that, by the way. So
Yeah.
there is never a like... Because to be fair, it's just not something that they do in Sonic 2 either, because they don't want to write themselves in a corner. I would argue if they wrote themselves into a corner that way in Sonic 2, they clearly had an easy, lame way of writing around it this time around. You know what I mean? If we want to pretend that they had that conversation in Sonic 2.
But to be fair, we predicted in Sonic 2, which was, once again, I mean, it's fine that they didn't do this, didn't go this direction, but like, we're like, what if they lock away the Master Emerald? And that's how I could have done. Could have locked it away, and as Shadow broke out, he finds it, and he's the one that needs to be stopped. Because originally, that's what we thought the plot was going to be. We all about Shadow.
Finding the Chaos Emeralds. Like maybe they broke it up and hit him around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which is what we thought the Knuckles show was going to be about. It was like, all right, we gotta put these somewhere, or maybe there's another threat that they couldn't fit in the movie. They just wanted to work with. But regardless, that, and then the back to the Knuckle or the Shadow and Sonic conversation on the moon happens way too quick. It just felt more, I don't know. And I get, once again, we get it. It's for kids, but that doesn't mean we still think general audiences deserve to have some character growth there that isn't just, oh, we talked about it for 5 seconds and now you're right.
Yeah.
You're right, yeah. Sonic. Because maybe Sonic isn't right. I liked about Sonic 2 is that it took the whole entire movie to realize he has some responsibility. You know what I mean? He also isn't
right.
Always he doesn't know how to use his powers effectively. Like that takes a whole movie and Tails being involved, right? This
This time
movie felt
around, it
very like it
was
just jumps to the conclusions for you, which is
yes,
if you're a person who's just coming in here for the action, I'm sure you don't care. But I kind of care more about the story to some degree in this movie because the action's cool, but like there needs to be some story still. I
right,
think to hit the S rank level, and I think we deserve that. I think you can still do it. You can still have amazing action and fight and sequences and whatnot while
yeah,
still having a story or characters learning throughout the entire movie, or they don't have to learn everything in one movie. I get it though. They go in with these movies being like, in case we never get to make another one, you
right.
put your best cards on the table.
Which
I
is
get
also why
that,
they
but
end them cleanly, which sucks. Because I think we both agreed they should have when we reviewed this the first time end this on a cliffhanger so that you can split the Shadow movie as one like second half and like Sonic movie 4 as a second half because they're separate or whatever. You know what I mean? Like you could really expand out the story
and
for
I think
this,
part of
but
that is the stakes too. Going back to the stakes between Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails' relationship, Sonic and Shadow's relationship. The fact that once I don't love still that they cut a chunk of the moon and it's like nothing, like no one ever talked. Like that is an opportunity to be like, all right, we fucked up. You can do. I know we were just shitting on MCU, but you could do your Captain America Civil War plot of like, oh, these now everyone's aware about these hedgehogs and these super freaks.
oh sure.
Should we be controlling them in some way? Like, well, how does that look like? They just destroyed the moon and is now fucking up the water on this planet or whatever.
They
What should
used
we do
it
about
as
that?
the visual backdrop of revealing Amy when she's in like she's jumping up in the air and they show the moon and that chunk is floating underneath it. So to some degree, I mean, what was it? There was some superhero thing where it was somewhat similar a catastrophic thing and they just wrote away the reason why it's okay now and ultimately who cares. Maybe it was with the giant man coming out of the planet because of Eternals or whatever. I forget what. Um, but yeah, I'm with you. I would also argue the Sonic games. I'm not going to argue this, but just to highlight what this is in the Sonic games, the moon still is technically half gone. Just the full half is facing the planet, which was literally said in an interview as a way of like, who gives a shit? Like we're just this is like the Mario idea of like different. They at one point in the games wanted to have a continuity, and then in like the late 2000s and early 2010s, they dropped that just to have one-off ideas, which was better for the brand, 100%. And then with Forces decided we want to have if it was Forces, have all the villains back and all this and make references to this and that. And then Frontiers make specific references to the Eclipse canon and this and that and and all that stuff. So like whether or not Sonic in the games has a continuous universe or not is like at the whim of the game they're making. Movies aren't like that. We are expecting the arc of the characters to be remembered and continued. We want the story to make sense. We want the stakes of like, okay, uh, this Sonic's family is at stake in the first game or first movie. Sonic's hometown is at stake in the second movie. The planet is at stake for the third one. Now, like a Skynet level, all humanity goes extinct is a similar thing with the planet being destroyed. Ultimately, who cares? That is equal.
Or if it's the future, it's already destroyed, but you can have it be like
We
the
can
stake
try
is
to
we got
save
we
it. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Prevent that from
reverse
happening.
it. Yeah.
100%. But now they've written in like, okay, now it needs to do the thing that a lot of long series do, or now it's personal. Now we've captured Tom, and like now, okay, that's how you ramp down again. Like they're gonna have to do all this stuff because by wanting to do a Sonic Adventure 2 type of movie and to do the thing where the planet's at stake. Now that they've done that, how do you know what I mean? That's why in the games it's easy to do it doesn't matter. This new plot is just as important because we can say none of that happened before, because whatever, the idea of Sonic as a character is all we're doing
And
for this
also with
game.
the Sonic games or a lot of video games, the plot is second. And that's okay, by the way.
Well,
I'm not saying it's a
yes,
bad thing, but like
absolutely.
the point of you playing the video game more times than not is to have fun playing the video game. So if you don't really care too much all the time about, hey, how do I just get to the underwater zone, or how do I get to
Right.
this zone that looked really cool? Like that's and Sonic comes from the old times of the Mario world, same thing, right? Like you're going through the different worlds. That's what people
Story should
remember
be
it
in
for.
service of your cool gameplay ideas,
Yeah.
and you
Not
know,
saying
yeah.
there isn't games that try to do the opposite, where they make it about the story first, and people
And those
sometimes like
generally
those,
are
sometimes
not
don't.
fun platformers. You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
trend going around right now of like, what if Naughty Dog made a Mario game, and the people it's riffing on that type of voiceover in the head and how serious you're taking it, and that's a big laugh. But that's just not those. You know what I mean? Those different types of games. I can enjoy The Last of Us, and I can enjoy Sonic. There are two different types of things.
Yeah.
But the movies cannot do that. You're like, yes, like if you are only focusing on fun fight scenes, you made something for young children to have on the television. That is not something that will interest me. I will watch those and be like, heck yeah, but
But
once.
don't get surprised when we give it a D ranking
Well,
because
yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean. Like
they'll be
okay,
flashy
the
and
action
fun
was
and
cool,
cool. You know what I mean? Like
but
the only reason
that'll be
why
it.
all those Marvel movies have existed for this long in that MCU is because they had individual directors on most of those movies were done by different people who wanted to tell a story. You know what I mean? Whether they cared as much or whether it was much about a paycheck. Regardless, it wasn't Kevin Feige and like Marvel doing every single one of them. Because they would have had a movie where it's the Fantastic Four fight Doom and it's all blah 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 blah. You know, and they'd be in for 2.5 hours. Um, you know what I mean? Which is kind of what that
But
movie
to
like
be
anyway.
for conflicts to be impactful, just in general storytelling, there needs to be a reason for the conflict. If you just want action and all that, then you can probably find that on YouTube. You can probably find you could buy the toys and do it yourself.
Yes.
In all honesty,
I mean,
and that
bring us back
there's
to
nothing wrong with that.
2005
But
YouTube, where people would make high quality animated fight scenes of Tifa and Sephiroth and the Dead or Alive ladies, and it was awesome. And then that turned into Red versus Blue at some point, and like, it cool. If that's what you want,
yeah,
because that is cool. I'm not gonna lie, Dragon Ball fights are awesome. I also love them because I have stakes because I've watched these characters for how many episodes now, and I care about Goku's kids because he's like our age in the story, and I think that's cool that they're like old ass
right.
men at this point. You know what I mean? I think that's
It
cool.
can be. It'll be cooler. The fights will be cooler if there is some emotional weight or
Right.
reason for the conflict to happen. It won't like Lord of the Rings. Imagine if you just watched the fights, the battle scenes in Lord of the Rings. They'll be like, wow, visually effects look great, looks like a real fight, but it won't hit as hard because you don't know the story. You don't know the impact of why are they holding down in Helm's Deep? Like why are they
Right.
there? Why are they about to go into Mordor and just see if they can
What
just
is
fight
the
as long as they
story
can to get the ring
significance
destroyed?
of why you would write in needing for Gondor to call for aid? You know what I mean? And then this or that, or like beyond just a fight. You know what I mean? What is the overall story meaning of having disparate people, dispersed people coming together from their differences to unite and defeat the evil? What, like, that is why that fight is there. In that fight, literally, you have the scene of Gimli and Legolas being like, I would never would have thought I would have fought side by side with an elf. What about side by side with a friend? That is the reason for that whole fight. That is, you
Yeah.
can dial it down to those two lines, is the reason for why that fight is happening in the first place.
It's
for
the
context
alliances
what
of
the story
people
wants
who
to
shouldn't
say.
have alliances with each
Right.
other. That's what yeah. So
100%.
and that's what I feel like going back to this movie is I still have an issue with is like there was moments where I feel like they wanted to start a conflict, and conflict doesn't always mean war or like I want to kill you. More conflict can just mean a disagreement in the storytelling. It could be, hey, I mean, once again, I hate using this comparison, but I'm just using this because a lot of people have seen this, and I'm assuming there's an overlap between people who watch the Sonic movies and watch MCU. So Captain America, Civil War.
Yeah.
You know, Iron Man and Captain America really didn't want to kill each other until they upped the stakes of, oh, hey, your buddy over there killed my parents. Other than that, the original fight was, I have a fundamental disagreement with whether or not the government should control us or not. They didn't hate each other personally, really. It was just like, this is like a political fight at that point.
Right.
That's an example of conflict. A conflict can be, if you're watching a cartoon and Squidward just doesn't like that SpongeBob was painting the rocks outside of his house, and then that's the whole plot. You know what I mean? And you can build off of that. There was parts where I feel like conflict was starting, and they just either resolved it really quickly, or a character just felt like they're like, we're not gonna dive into that right now, and it just felt very unrewarding.
Yeah.
And yes, the fights were cool. At first, if anything, I think I liked the first fight between when Shadow is first in Tokyo. There, I wanted more. I wanted one more of that. That wasn't in the deserted place where Shadow was held, where we meet Gerald there. We needed one more like city fight or something where, once again, I think they're trying to tell too many stories, or they want to tell the Robotnik story.
Gotta keep moving, yeah.
Yeah. And that's the tough part with this. Not saying it's easy, not saying I could do it, but I think that's where the fundamental issue I have with this movie is that there's just too many storylines, and all of them feel very real, or the conflicts don't feel impactful, or just shown that they're supposed to be impactful, but then this turned into a joke half the time.
Yeah.
And I don't think that doesn't satisfy me personally.
That's this movie's biggest fault is that it had too much it wanted to do, and it did not give enough time to it. And watching this, I don't like, an easy thing to say is, we'll make it 2 movies. I don't really want this movie to be split into 2 because it was just disappointing to me. You know what I mean?
Or they need to pick just Shadow, or pick just the Robotniks.
Yeah. I digress. Anything else to say? I feel like I hit everything.
Yeah,
that I wanted to complain about.
I'm
this movie,
still
which
curious.
We still liked. It's still a B. You know,
I could honestly even be like, if we had to re-rank this, I might have hear an argument for A. But it's only because of, I think, just like I said, the last sequel we watched to a series.
That's why the scale is there. We gave that an E. It's not like we gave that a C. Then I would be like, yeah, absolutely.
But like, yeah, there's still a lot I liked in it. But at the same time, like we said in I think our first reviews, which is, this is the third one now. Any issues we had in the first one, it's not fair. But how we rank things is like, all right. And I think this goes with any artists in general. You should always be striving to do something different, or learn from the things that maybe didn't work in the first couple. And I feel like we're still kind of doing we went from small scale, which we critiqued. We were like, okay, we need to get bigger. I think we went too big.
Yeah.
Low key, and we got too many things going on, and we need to kind of dial it back. That doesn't mean the fourth one can't easily fix a lot of those things. I think, like you said, I think very early in this episode, that they now don't feel like they need to base anything off a game. They really can go in any direction with this and make it very original if they want. They could reference some other stuff. I kind of hope they just make it original, and they maybe do something that no one has predicted yet, I hope. And I hope it's something interesting. And yeah, I want more we need more conflict. We need more. Sonic needs to lose, or something needs to raise the stakes in a different way. But the fight scenes are all good. These are the best fight scenes of all 3 of the series, and I definitely want to keep that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We'll see what we get.
Okay. Well, thank you out there for watching this episode of the Sonic Movie Show. Hey, we're a podcast on YouTube and podcast services. Yes, like and subscribe, please. There's still only a couple days left in the year. If you're watching this the day it comes out on the 28th, get us to 400 subs. This is the only time I'm going to ask you in this episode. I'll ask you again next episode. I don't know why I had to say that. Yes. From me to you, from Devin to you, from us here on the Sonic Movie Show. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Kwezi Kwanzaa, Tip Top Tet, and a solemn, dignified Ramadan. Bye.
and Sonic Day or whatever.
It's
Does Sonic have a
Day.
day?
He does now. Sonic Tuesday.
Sonic was born on the same day as Jesus. Who would have thought?
Absolutely. Oh, someone. Oh yeah, Yoki Shinkara, Kawa, the artist for Metal Gear, was born on Christmas. Goodbye.
Mm.